Let's go on the scene right now to a campaign event in Pere, Wisconsin. That is the next stop for J.D. Vance. He will deliver his remarks there tonight. This will be his fourth trip to the key swing state since accepting the nomination on the Republican side. Carl Winter with Scripps News Green Bay is on the scene for us. And Carl, what can we expect from tonight's speech?
Hey, Del, that's right. I am coming to you from De Pere, Wisconsin, where some supporters are starting to gather ahead of Senator J.D. Vance's visit. Now, the Trump campaign says he'll speak about energy, inflation, and the economy. So expect more criticism of the Biden-Harris agenda and how they perceive it will affect voters here in Wisconsin. Now, this venue, Amerilux International, is a distributor of plastic-based materials. So they manufacture materials for things like garage doors and the sliding doors of semi-trucks. It's the same place Donald Trump Jr. spoke at a little more than 2 months ago, and not dissimilar from the trucking and logistics company Vance was speaking at in Erie, Pennsylvania. So I think Vance will lean into this working class venue and what they perceive as the working class ethos of Northeast Wisconsin. Now, we've learned that the Republican candidate for Wisconsin's 8th congressional district, a man by the name of Tony Weed, will be speaking as a part of the pre-program, and the CEO of this company here, Kurt Voss, is expected to speak as well. And then, of course, Vance and his wife Usha scheduled to be here, and the remarks from Vance are scheduled for 6:30 Central for us here in Wisconsin, 7:30 for you folks on the East Coast.
Carl, crowd size seems to be a big thing this campaign cycle. With what you're seeing with regards to size, even though it's pretty early, are you seeing people lining up? And since you brought up the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., appearing there already, any idea of whether the crowds for J.D. Vance rival those of the son of the president, the former president?
Well, Donald Trump Jr.'s crowd was probably only a couple hundred people here. This is a large warehouse, so there is space for more, but already some folks lining up here, and we're, of course, several hours before remarks are expected to begin and before Senator Vance takes the stage. So I don't expect it to be an extremely large crowd here, maybe similar to what you saw in Erie, Pennsylvania. I think a little bit larger than that. That trucking facility there seemed like a bit of a smaller venue, but I don't expect Vance to be bringing up crowd size or anything like that. It seems like with these smaller campaign events, they're leaning more into the policies and attacking the policies of President Biden and Vice President Harris.
Probably similar to what we might see with that bus tour that the Vice President Kamala Harris and the Governor Tim Walz are going to be seeing in Georgia as they make their campaign tour through the Peach State. Carl Winter with Scripps News Green Bay. Carl, thank you very much.
Later, Republican VP candidate J.D. Vance will be in De Pere. We'll have more on his visit. So let's go right to De Pere neighborhood reporter Carl Winter, who is standing by live for us tonight. Carl?
Nina, the pre-program is set to begin here shortly here at Amerilux International in De Pere, and I counted about 180 chairs when we entered the venue, and it seems like most of them are full now for Senator J.D. Vance, the Republican nominee for vice president. Now, this is the same venue that Donald Trump Jr. spoke at early in June, a trucking and distribution facility that manufactures materials like products for garage doors. The Trump campaign says Senator Vance will focus on how they perceive working-class Wisconsinites are struggling under the Biden-Harris economy, so he will likely try to lean into the venue. Supporter Chris Casey from Manitowoc told us before the event that she relates to Vance's story, and that's why she's here volunteering at the event.
I think he has a wonderful American story. I read his book years ago when it first came out, and I was very touched by what he'd been through and what he was able to make of himself, and thought it was a great selection by President Trump to add him as a vice presidential candidate.
Again, the Trump campaign says Vance will focus on energy, inflation, and the economy, while the Kamala Harris for Wisconsin campaign says he focused on her upcoming CNN interview and cat ladies at his event earlier today in Erie, Pennsylvania. So we'll keep you updated on which of those holds true when he takes the stage later this evening. Right now, Kurt Voss, the CEO of Amerilux, is taking the stage. So we'll let you know at 6 what happens here. He's scheduled to take the stage at 6:30. In De Pere, Carl Winter, NBC 26.
Very soon, Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance will be holding an event in De Pere. Your De Pere neighborhood reporter Carl Winter joins us live now at the site where Vance will be tonight. Carl, what can we expect?
Nina, we are about 30 minutes away from when Senator J.D. Vance is scheduled to speak here at Amerilux International. Right now, just some music playing and a low buzz as folks anticipate his arrival. So far, we've heard from Amerilux CEO Kurt Voss, State Representative Ty Bodden, and congressional candidate Tony Weed. Now, earlier we spoke to some supporters here, and some of these supporters were here as early as 2:30 this afternoon. They say the economy and the military are two of the major issues they'll be voting on, and that they hope Vance touches on this evening.
I'm a little sick of what's going on in the world, and I just want to see it. Hope it changes.
My main focus is the military. We have a weak military. We're not going to be here long. All right, and that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on the strength of the nation, and we do that by having a strong military.
I'm very, very excited to be here tonight, and I know he's going to win. He's got.
Brown County voted red in the last 3 presidential elections, but of course the state of Wisconsin went blue in 2020, and clearly both parties are doubling and tripling down on campaigning here in our state, and especially in northeast Wisconsin, and this is another sign of that. Meanwhile, here at Amerilux, still waiting for Senator J.D. Vance, we're told he will be on time at 6:30. In De Pere, Carl Winter, NBC 26.
In response to Vance's visit today, the Harris Walz campaign said in part, quote, like Trump, Vance will need to answer to Wisconsin voters who are deeply concerned about why they're trying to raise costs for working families with their Extreme Project 2025 agenda. They went on to say, quote, Wisconsinites can't afford another Trump presidency, unquote.
The campaign trail continues to run through Wisconsin for both presidential candidates, and Wednesday, it was Northeast Wisconsin. I'm your De Pere neighborhood reporter Carl Winter, and Vice Presidential nominee Senator J.D. Vance visited Amerilux International.
A crowd of around 250 came to the distribution company to hear Vance speak, and the senator spent the first 10 minutes of his speech taking aim at Vice President Kamala Harris' record.
Kamala, day one was 1,300 days ago. What the hell have you been doing on time?
Vance contrasted Harris' policies with those of his running mate, President Trump, saying housing and food costs are too high under Harris and President Biden, and focusing on energy production in the United States.
Donald Trump's message and solution is simple. Drill, baby, drill. Open up America's energy markets and get it from our own workers.
American-made manufacturing was a key topic for another speaker Wednesday, congressional candidate Tony Weed, who says he aligns with Trump and Vance on steep tariffs.
Tariffs can be used as a tool in order to really negotiate good, fair deals and good, fair trade with other countries in order to bring jobs back here, good, strong manufacturing jobs right back here to this country.
I asked Vance about his campaign's ability to win the Badger State with a third-party candidate still on the ballot.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will remain on the ballot here in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Election Commission says, despite him trying to get off of it in swing states. How do you think that affects yours and former President Trump's campaign?
I think it's ridiculous that RFK has endorsed Donald Trump. He has petitioned to be taken off the Wisconsin ballot, but a bunch of bureaucrats are going to keep his name on the ballot because they think it'll hurt Donald Trump. I think we're going to win Wisconsin anyway, and we're going to fight for every single vote. That's our plan.
Winning Wisconsin is something state Republican leader Brian Schimming says the Trump campaign is prioritizing.
Green Bay, the Upper Fox Valley, northeastern Wisconsin is probably the top place in the state. There's a lot of swing voters up here. It's been critical.
This comes after Senator Elizabeth Warren was in northeast Wisconsin on Tuesday, former President Trump scheduled to be in La Crosse Thursday, and both President Biden and Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz scheduled to be back in Wisconsin next week. In De Pere, Carl Winter, NBC 26.
In response to Vance's visit today, the Harris Walz campaign said in part, quote, like Trump, Vance will need to answer to Wisconsin voters who are deeply concerned about why they're trying to raise costs for working families with their Extreme Project 2025 agenda. They went on to say, quote, Wisconsinites can't afford another Trump presidency, unquote.